In the movie The Matrix, there's a scene that's always stuck in my mind. It's not the intricate, insane fight sequences. It's not even the cave rave orgathon, although they are both memorable. It's a conversation between two characters in a restaurant. This scene is the moment where it is revealed to the audience that Cypher has sold out the location of his fugitive comrades to the AI agent, Mr. Smith, in exchange for being reinstalled into the AI's perfect simulation, the Matrix. There he can enjoy a life of decadent excess in a virtual playground. He wants to be plugged back in, essentially. In the scene, right at the moment Cypher tastes the fake steak, we get a shot of a harp being strummed across the room. It's an odd shot. It doesn't seem to be relevant to anything that's happening in the scene, and as an establishing shot, it doesn't really do anything. It's too focused on the harp. So why this shot? The Wachowskis are no stranger to literary references, and this shot of the harp is no exception. The harp has long been associated with entrancing magic, casting a spell over a person or beast. Here too, the shot of the harp nods at Cypher's intoxication by the allure of the Matrix. He prefers the desert of the real to the desert that is real.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
This study, and others like it, have shown people like Cypher are in the minority. Most of us prefer to live in the real world, no matter how unpleasant or awful it can be sometimes. But what if we didn't have a choice?
Hey, Vsauce! Michael here.
Let me ask you this. Suppose we succeed in enslaving godlike AI to bring about a Technoutopia, where no one works and each human being has a superhuman AI assistant whose sole existence is devoted to increasing their welfare. What would such an AI actually do? Like, what would they be doing to increase our welfare? They might optimize our health and allow us to live for hundreds or thousands of years, teach us skills for artistic and spiritual pursuits, or help us travel the world. But these are only local optima for maximizing welfare. If I truly wanted to make someone's life go as well as possible, I'd want to subtract out all the things in the real world that might impede that goal. You'd want there to be no traffic on their way to work. Unfortunately, if you wanted to be the best tennis player in the world, no matter how hard you trained, or no matter how hard your AI optimized your training, at the end of the day there would always be someone who just got that little bit luckier in the genetic lottery. Life just isn't fair. In this case, and I'm sure many others, the thing you want most of all is incompatible with reality. In contrast, the welfare global optimum, we can think of this as the best of all possible worlds that we could inhabit, is a highly individualized fantasy hidden behind the local optima of balancing the preferences of everyone. We can't all be the best tennis player, and none of us can be a dragon, right? These are just hard ontological truths. But maybe not for much longer. We create fictional worlds all the time to dip our toes in. We inhabit other lives indirectly when we watch films or read books, and sometimes directly in the case of the burgeoning field of virtual reality. We escape, sometimes unwillingly, when we dream. Escapism, now more than ever, is on the rise. So let's return to the question I posed to you earlier. How would a super intelligent AI agent, whose sole existence is devoted to maximizing your welfare, go about doing just that? It knows you would never be satisfied being the best tennis player in a virtual world full of NPCs, so it does what seems only logical. It casts a spell over you. It puts you in an isolated virtual world where you can be the best tennis player, and it seals you inside without you ever knowing. This is a future where every person's life is carefully curated down to the smallest detail. You might protest by pointing out how such an AI is failing to account for the negative value we ascribe to fake experiences. It's not really giving us what we want because we simply don't want to be locked into a virtual prison, no matter how great it is inside. But remember, built into this thought experiment is the idea that you would never know. You could never know. Our perceptual apparatus would be at the mercy of our AI attendants, and if they can make the transition between real and unreal seamless, perhaps by sedating us temporarily, we can be inserted into any virtual world. It could make you wake up tomorrow with superpowers, or the chosen one in a fantasy setting, or just a glitch in your bank account and suddenly you've got $1 million sitting there. Our imagination is the limit here, or more aptly, the imagination of the AI that is now controlling our life. And saying we would eventually figure out the deception is like saying the ants would figure out their deception. These are godlike AI entities we're talking about, not your average large language model. Alright, that's all the groundwork done. Where am I going with all this? I want to get a taste for what it'd be like to be trapped in one of these virtual worlds. So I'm going to spend 48 hours trapped in Skyrim VR. Now obviously I know it's not real. There's not much I can do about that apart from taking an enormous amount of acid. But there are a few things I can do. Immersion protocol. 1. I will only eat and drink items I have found in Skyrim. 2. I will have extremely limited contact with the outside world. 3. I will only take the headset off to eat, sleep and shit. And 4. No fast travel. My character's 2 feet will be my sole form of transport in my new virtual world. Now, without further ado, let the experiment begin. Right, it's 6:26. Here goes. And we got a new game. And off we go. I don't know why, but this is how I was brought into the world of VR Skyrim, with a face full of crotch. No, I don't want this. Anyway, this was my humble start, and this purgatory land that I first stepped into, I had difficulty finding a way out of. Where do I go? The f*** do I get out of here? But once I entered Skyrim properly, I quickly became drenched in immersion. I mean, I was really flinching and flinging my Warhammer all over the place. After making my way to Whiterun, the major city where I could begin the main questline, I began to weave together my real-world bodily requirement to eat with the fantasy world of nobody needs to eat or do any other normal bodily process. I actually need to eat, unlike these soulless husks.
Need something. Need something.
And so, after successfully integrating my first meal between the virtual and real worlds, and some technical difficulties in adjusting to my new body, I was ready to spend my first night in this limbo world that I created. Okay, so the second day was really where this experiment went from a pleasant excursion to a real slog. At first, I would be completely transported. It's so sick that you can see high Hrothgar up there. But as the day went on, I found these moments of pure immersion becoming sparser. My eyesight's super blurry. As much as I wanted to be sucked in, I found my obstinate body trying to spoil the fun. Which is not ideal. After 8 hours of near consecutive playtime, my eyes felt like they were being stretched. I might just close my eyes because I am genuinely concerned about my eye health at the moment. And I need my eyes. And the nausea that was building through the day threatened to reproduce the bread and honey Skyrim had provided for breakfast.
Yeah, the back of my head in particular.
And the back of my head was severely bruised.
Me a lot of grief.
There were also strange sensory phenomenon that would bleed into the real world. By the end of the first day, when I took the headset off, objects in my vision would take on a phantom parallax effect. It's hard for me to describe, but if I had to give a visual point of comparison, it would be something like this. And later that night, I could hear the wind outside smacking something against corrugated iron, but the noise was eerily reminiscent of the main menu music's initial deep bass note. And that was like being triggered, honestly. Also, side note, Bethesda clearly didn't intend for the main questline to be played without fast travel. I had to climb these damned 7,000 steps 4 times.
This will be the last time I climb these bloody stairs.
Thank God I couldn't get the treadmill I had planned to use up my stairs. That would have been rough.
That's too big, isn't it?
What these descriptions fail to capture is the mild psychological dissociation that these sensory effects were coupled with. It was like my brain was trying to merge the logic of the Skyrim world with the real world subconsciously, trying to knit them together into one brand new sensory channel. These effects continued into the second day, as did the physical toll. There were still plenty of moments when the beauty of the game world made me momentarily forget about my body. The moment I realised I could pick up things, turn them over in my hands, and even throw them was surreal. On top of that, I'd get shivers running down my spine when taking refuge in an abandoned woodland hut from a passing storm. I'd actually get goosebumps, and I swear I could feel the wind on my skin. Also, I was eating a carrot. But the trend was away from complete immersion rather than towards it. I found myself drinking more water so that I would have an excuse to go piss and take the headset off. My eye breaks became longer, and by the afternoon of the second day, I was really starting to dread having to put that damn headset back on. It was also interesting to see how role-playing as this unstoppable avatar of death and destruction, which, make no mistake, I was. I mean, look at this. It wore away at me. It wasn't just my body that was starting to reject the other world, but my mind too. I didn't want to kill everything I found. I wanted to pat the rabbit, not kill it. But that's not what this game was made for. It's not a perfect sandbox. You can't escape who you really are. Eventually, the real you reels you back in. I also noticed, more and more as this experiment went on, that the world of Skyrim is a dead one. The already thin veneer of a vibrant and complex world is slowly but surely stripped out with every hollow interaction I had. That's not to say Skyrim isn't a great game. The fact millions of people still play a 13-year-old game shows that it is. But great game or not, when you try and treat it like a real dynamic world, the illusion shatters.
Is that goat always there?
These NPCs don't remember you, or even what they just said. They can't get to know you. Where you initially see their backstory as the tip of an iceberg, living in the game reveals to you that the tip is all there is. And look, again, I'm not shitting on Skyrim. I want that to be very clear for all you Skyrim stans out there. Don't harass me in the comments. What I'm trying to communicate is that the kinds of virtual worlds I alluded to earlier, ones you could live your whole life in, are a long way from the shallow pool of Skyrim. Now that's not to say we will have to wait long. Most signs point to accelerating development of virtual worlds.
Meta's sunk $15 billion into
As I found out, using Skyrim as a template doesn't really do the thought experiment of living in a virtual world justice. Back when I was a teenager, I would spend hours and hours after school attempting to mod my pirated copy of Skyrim with as many mods as my measly 660 Ti could manage before just completely melting. I would categorize groups of mods that would be stable together and mix and match, endlessly trying to find the perfect vision that I could squeeze more than 20 frames per second out of, mind you. This was all in service of building a portal into another world, where I was unburdened by the usual set of teenage woes. So, in many ways, this experiment was my 17-year-old self's wet dream. But I think this is precisely the problem. See, when I was 17, I hadn't had all these core experiences in the real world that went on to shape myself and my connections with others. I was just an anxious kid looking for a way out. And I worry that if I had access to a virtual world, minusing out all the pesky physical side effects, those connections I have now might never have formed. I would have traded them in for the safety of an NPC. I'm not worried about those of us who already have good reason to remain in the real world. This whole video concept probably doesn't even make sense to them. I'm worried about those on the fringes. The kids having to face the harsh truths of an uncaring world and who don't yet have a fully fleshed out understanding of who they are. They will be the first to be sucked in. And yeah, sure, the water is muddied by the fact some people's base reality is pretty bleak. For those with disabilities, a virtual world can be the great leveler, allowing everyone a completely equal standing in their relation to the world. But as with all technology, the invention of virtual worlds is a double-edged sword. Even if we made these worlds for the disadvantaged in mind, their appeal would naturally pull in other demographics, not even to mention the potential dollar signs.
Can't even imagine yet. For connection, for creation, for learning, joy.
But that's enough philosophizing. I finished my Skyrim VR experience looking out over the world I had visited. Thankful for its time, but eager to return to brick and mortar reality.
And to celebrate,
If I can find it.
we're going to eat my Skyrim apple pie. You're gonna have to take the headset off for this one. I can't actually see what I'm doing.
Man, it's pretty high def out here. No, I have to say. Legit, I think I'm just going to walk around outside for a while. Because I need it.
As I stand here and eat this wonderful apple pie, I'm reminded of how the real world is pretty damn neat.